Yes, hello and welcome to B&B's Football Happy Hour. I am Bobby, and every week I'm joined by my man Brian.
What's going on? Glad to be back for our Super Bowl week. Kind of a sad week as we end the football season, but it's been a good year and should be a good game. So hopefully we get one more good one, and then we'll start talking about the draft, I guess.
That's right, episode 42.
Mm-hmm.
We are stacking them up here. And before we get started, make sure y'all check out our sponsor, Diaper Dust, www.thediaperdust.com. One-stop shop for anything and everything you need for nasty, smelly diapers. And as always, our beats are by Dunson.
Yep. Check it out. Diaper Dust. We'll have to post again on the Facebook page. I know Reggie did one post. We'll have to get another one on there so people can check it out as it's growing.
Big time. Spent a few hours today making more product and everything because the demand's getting pretty high. So that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
So tonight on the show, we're talking the Matt Stafford trade, which was astonishing. We're talking Super Bowl preview. Obviously, we didn't touch on it last week, so we could hit on it this week. And we will be joined by a former guest on the show, Sirius XM Fantasy Radio host Anthony Aniano. He's going to hop on with us and talk about free agent wide receivers. We had Phil Backert on last week to talk about the running backs, and Anthony is going to grace us with his presence to discuss the wide receivers. And there's some big names out there, so I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, should be another good episode. Anthony's always good. He was funny when he came on the first time. He was a good time. So we'll get his take on that, and I guess we'll maybe get his early prediction on the Super Bowl. See what he has to say about that. So
got that right.
Well,
the Stafford trade, man, the Rams gave up a 2021 this year third-round pick, a 2022 first-round pick, a 2023 first-round pick, and Jared Goff for little old Matthew Stafford. That is an insane haul for 33-year-old Stafford. Now, granted, he's good. He's better than Goff, but wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. Is he that good to garner that kind of haul, I guess, that they got for him? I don't know. I mean, this was a crazy thing. Man, this was like a Saturday night deal. It's kind of weird. The NFL trades don't usually happen like that, but man, Jared Goff kind of fell out of grace pretty damn quick in the offseason here. I mean, him and McVay must not have been seeing eye to eye for a little bit. I mean, longer than what they've let it out to be, I think. So,
well, back in 2016, the Rams gave up 2 first-round picks to move up to get Jared Goff, and then they just gave up 2 first-round picks to get rid of Jared Goff. They're now going to go 7 years without a first-round pick.
That's unreal.
Sean McVay, he's got a lot of confidence in himself and his team to think he can make a run for a Super Bowl without any first-round draft picks ever.
Wow. Yeah, I saw a meme, I guess, on Facebook, and it was Aaron Donald. I guess he's the only first-round pick they've had. I guess that's still on the roster. Or, I don't know. He was picked in 2016, I think, and
I think Goff was
15,
16.
Yeah,
so
15 or something like that. So they're not going to make another first-round pick till 2024. So that's yeah. I don't think Sean McVay might not be the coach at that point unless he wins the Super Bowl, because I don't know. I think that's kind of what they're putting all their chips into, I guess, to get Stafford. I guess they think he can take them over the top. We'll see. I mean, they got a great defense, but man, I don't know if he can take them to that next level. I'm not sure. I mean, it's definitely better than Goff, and they were good this year. Man, I don't know. It's tough to say, but
well, with the Lions, you got Brad Holmes, a new GM. Well, he worked in the LA Rams organization when they drafted Goff, and he liked Goff. He's a Goff guy. Well, Sean McVay comes in, and Holmes, he knows McVay doesn't like Stafford. So you got a guy here in Brad Holmes with the Lions, GM, new guy just hired, who likes Goff and knows McVay hates him. He also knows McVay is borderline arrogant, so he probably knows he doesn't feel like McVay needs his first-round draft picks. So he can drive that price up on McVay, and that's exactly what he did. And it's brilliant for both the new head coach, Dan Campbell, and for Holmes in Detroit, because when you they locked themselves into their contracts, basically. I think they each got a 5 or 6 year deal because even if they falter and the Lions are terrible, the Lions are known for firing guys, fairly quickly. It's happened a few times, but you can't, a front office isn't going to, or an owner isn't going to go to a head coach and be like, hey, year 2, we're going to fire you, even though there's still another first round pick coming from a deal you made 2 years ago. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It was so smart on their part to do that and to work into the future to lock themselves in this role, because every owners, they're going to need to see the whole picture. They're going to need to see how this pans out and what the coach and the GM's vision was. And I think it is brilliant on their part.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good take. I mean, I mean, like you said, the familiarity with Goff. I mean, obviously they were the target there, to get him to Detroit, I guess, with that new GM. So, man, I don't know. I mean, to me, it seems like the Rams are kind of taking all the risk. I mean, they give up the picks, but you get the better player. I guess you don't know what those picks are going to translate out to. I mean, those picks could translate out to some pretty good guys, but we'll have to, see that down the road. To me, this is just like a Rams going all in, for 2 years, I think, for the next 2 years, try to get back to the Super Bowl, I think. And if not, the trade's a bust and a failure. I mean, if they don't get to the Super Bowl, I mean, the Stafford trade's a waste, to be honest. I mean, because they almost what'd they get to the second round of the playoffs with Goff? So, I mean, if you're not going to get at least to the NFC Championship game or back to the Super Bowl, I mean, this trade's a bust. So, to me, they're taking all the risk. And for, like you said, for the Lions, I mean, and Campbell, yeah, I mean, he's definitely, going to use that to his advantage. Even if he has a couple bad years, I mean, he's still going to throw that out there, saying that he has the picks and he's still trying to build his roster. And
Yep.
Like you said, he's locking himself in. So to him, that was pretty risk adverse. I mean, to him, that's taking away risk and just kind of putting it all out to
house money
to McVay. Yeah, I mean, nobody's expecting much. I mean, yeah, Goff isn't terrible. I guess he's a serviceable quarterback, but I mean, he's not as good as Stafford. So I mean, I don't know how they're going to be. They weren't really good with Matthew Stafford, so we'll see how that shakes out. But just a crazy trade. I know they said it can't go. I guess it's kind of crazy because they said it can't go it can't go final until March, whatever,
right.
3rd or something like that. But I mean, obviously the deal's in place, so
right.
It is what it is. But it's pretty just a wow, man. It's almost like an NBA type trade. I mean, I'm just sitting on the couch on Saturday night watching TV and my phone starts vibrating and it was ESPN update, whatever, Goff traded. And I know we had talked about him the week before with Phil, and I don't think any of us kind of touched on the Rams. So that was kind of a weird, I don't know, just came out of nowhere. And apparently he's good friends with Clayton Kershaw or whatever like that. So apparently he wanted to go to LA or something like that. So good for him.
And you got to admit, Matt Stafford with Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Cam Akers. I mean, that's a solid offense there. So definitely an upgrade. Just we'll see what the Rams can do without having those first round picks to build everywhere else on the roster.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. And I did read. I thought it was pretty funny that Stafford said he wanted to get traded, but anywhere he didn't want to go to New England. Apparently, that was the report. He said he would get traded to most. Well, I don't know, not most teams, but he said anywhere but New England, apparently. So that's kind of an odd. I guess he doesn't want to play for old Billy B.
Smart. All right, buddy. Super Bowl time. The Kansas City Chiefs are taking on the oddly enough and first time in NFL history home team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These two teams met in Week 12, and the Chiefs pulled out the win 27-24. Patrick Mahomes was dominant, completing 37 of 49 throws for 462 yards and 3 touchdowns. The big story, though, was Tyreek Hill doing anything and everything that he wanted. 13 catches, 269 yards, and all 3 of those Patty Mahomes touchdown passes went to Mr. Hill. I mean, I remember this game. We talked about it on the show. Obviously, it was tremendous to watch those guys go to work against that Tampa defense.
Yeah, this was a crazy game early in the year. I mean, somebody gets 200 yards in one quarter is pretty. I don't know. That doesn't happen every year, obviously. But man, that was a good game. It ended up being a good game. I mean, it wasn't at one point. I think it was 17-0. Chiefs pretty early on there. They went up pretty big, looking like it was going to be a blowout, and then Brady kind of did a little bit of magic on it. Ended up losing by 3, but I think this one's going to be a pretty close one as well. I mean, I can see this one being pretty close. And like you said, man, the Bucks being the home team, that has to account for something. I know they're going to let 25,000. It seems like that number keeps going up. Like a week ago, it was 17 something, and then it was 22. Now it's 25. So you
Packed
might,
house by the time Sunday rolls around.
yeah, by Sunday, I think you're going to be looking at 32. I don't know, man,
They
30
don't
plus.
care.
Man, they
The
don't care.
NFL does not care about health and safety. They know it's their last game of the year. They might as well pack as many fans in there as they can, because who cares about COVID after this? The NFL,
Yeah.
they're out of it for a couple months. But so during that game, Carlton Davis was the cornerback in coverage for most of the time against Tyreek Hill. Carlton Davis gave up 236 yards on 12 catches in that game. And Davis is a good corner. I think Pro Football Focus rated him almost a 70 on the season, which is pretty good. And just to put that into perspective a little bit, in 2009, Darrelle Revis. Now, don't get me wrong, Carlton Davis is not Revis. However, in 2009, Darrelle Revis went up against Randy Moss twice, T.O. twice, Andre Johnson, Marcus Colston, Steve Smith, Roddy White, Reggie Wayne, and Chad Ochocinco. The best of the best the league had to offer. That's 10 combined games Revis played against those guys. And he gave up a total of 241 receiving yards. Davis gave up 200, almost that many in one game against mostly Tyreek Hill. Now, like I said, he's not Revis, but it just kind of puts in perspective and shows you the kind of day that Tyreek Hill had on Mr. Davis.
Yeah, man, that was a tough day for him, obviously.
It's not all his fault. If you watch a game, he rarely got any help over the top from anybody. The Buccaneers are Buccaneers defense. Steve Spagnuolo, they were calling one deep safeties, and it was a mistake. I can't imagine they're gonna fall into that trap again in the Super Bowl.
That might be a good thing though, because look, I mean, that's probably the worst you could play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's probably.
And
So
you lost by 3.
you have tape on the absolute worst case scenario, because I mean that's probably the worst case scenario is a receiver getting 200 yards in one quarter. I mean, so look at that tape and just don't do anything that you did that first game. So switch it up, but just change it up, man. Put somebody else on the guy. I know I was looking into the cornerback Murphy Bunting. This dude's got 3 picks in the last 3 games. I think he's a second-year cornerback for the Bucks. So, I mean, if Davis is going to get smoked on Tyreek Hill, maybe just have Murphy Bunting follow him around a little bit. Maybe I know he's not the shutdown corner in the NFL, one of the top guys, but I don't know if he can get it done. Maybe he can get it done. And I think Antoine Winfield, the safety for the Bucks, has been out these couple playoff games, and apparently he's going to be coming back. So you'll have one of their starting safeties back. So yeah, I don't know, man. With that film that they have from the last game, I think they can only get better. So I think they'll tighten some things up in the secondary. I believe you would think so.
Well, I mean, you have to think that Tampa Bay is going to check out the game film from Miami a few weeks ago whenever they played the Chiefs and had 3 picks on Patty Mahomes. They have to be studying that game film like their job's dependent on it, because hey, they just might. So hopefully, you would think they're going to do copy. The NFL is a copycat league. You think they're going to copy a few of those defensive schemes and plays and run those, hoping for the same outcome. Now, if I looked at a lot of stats for the season between the two teams, and as far as offense goes, they're pretty much equal. Kansas City in total points, Kansas City was 6th, Tampa Bay was 3rd. Yards, Kansas City led the league with the most yards. Tampa Bay was 7th. Passing yards, they were 1st and 2nd. Rushing yards, there's a big difference. Kansas City was 16th. They, had a couple blow-up games to help them out there because they were not very good. Tampa Bay was 28th. In reality, Kansas City is probably closer to Tampa in this one. But Tampa was a little bit better in the red zone. Now, in defense, Kansas City was 16th in yards given up. Tampa Bay was 6th. Yards per play, Kansas City was 20th. Tampa Bay was 6th again. Passing yards, 14th for Kansas City, 21st for Tampa Bay. Rushing yards, the Bucs were number 1, though. Best rushing defense in the league. Kansas City was only 21st. And sacks, Kansas City 19th, Tampa Bay 4th in sacks. And I think that's going to be a big one. And another interesting fact that I think I haven't heard anyone talk about, and it is being ignored, Maybe it should be. I don't know. But this one, I don't know. It's kind of sticking in my craw a little bit. I think it might mean something here. But Kansas City, over the course of the season, had 21 more offensive penalties than the Bucs did. Now, in a game that most people plan on being close, if the Chiefs commit several more penalties than Tampa Bay, that could help swing things in the Buccaneers' favor.
Yeah, that's a good call there. Yeah, for sure. In a Super Bowl like this, I mean, like you said, they're pretty evenly matched. I mean, down the line throughout the whole year, the first game, like we talked about, was pretty close, only 3 points. I can see this game being that way. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to say the Chiefs were to get, 3 or 4 more offensive penalties, say like they get 2 more false starts and another offensive holding, man, that could be the difference between a couple possessions. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I think that's a big key for Tampa Bay is to limit the time Mahomes spends on the field. So I think they're going to try to run with Fournette a little bit if they can, and Ronald Jones. But man, one of the big keys, like you said, with those sacks, man, I think just watching Tampa Bay, I'm getting kind of impressed with that defense, man. I love those linebackers that they got, and JPP and those guys can get pressure on Mahomes. I know Mahomes can move around a little bit more than Brady, obviously, but man, I mean, Devin White, he had 15 tackles against the Packers, and he was all over the field, just destroying people. And you got Levante David.
He's awesome.
I mean, they're 2 studs, and if they can limit, the underneath throws into the flats with CEH and everything else, because it's going to be hard to run on the Bucs. And CEH is just coming back. I mean, I know he played last week, but
they got to make sure they cover Travis Kelce.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And
linebackers on him.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I haven't watched the Bucs all year. Obviously, I don't watch every, play of their every game, but
no?
I think, man, Devin White and those guys are playing at the top of their game right now. So yeah, obviously one of their jobs is going to be to guard Travis Kelce, which is easier said than done. But if you could just limit him to, maybe just a few big plays and not, one big play every drive, it seems like that he gets. If they can limit some yards with Kelce, if he can just catch it and they tackle him and you just don't let him, use his quickness, I guess, to get away from some of those guys. I mean, I think they'll have a better chance of keeping this game close. And obviously, like we just talked about, you have to limit Tyreek Hill and those big splash plays that they get all the time. So I think there's some big keys. I think there's some big keys right there. Yeah, obviously.
Well, Kelce was caught all 8 of his targets for 82 yards in the first meeting. And again, it matters, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? What you need to know what happened before, but at the same time, it's tough to beat an NFL team twice in the same season. It's really tough to beat them 3 times, which, sometimes when you have division rivals playing each other in playoffs, you got to worry about that. But now they also didn't really need Travis Kelce in his first matchup. So I don't know. We talked last week about Andy Reid, how great he might be, the best play schemer in all of football. Yeah. So I keep flip-flopping on this game. I started thinking the Chiefs were going to win. Then I'm, focusing on that defense like you were talking about and thinking what's Tom Brady. But then you think about Andy Reid and Patty Mahomes. This is
tough.
It is.
And
now, one thing.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say in 2007-2008 season, the Tom Brady was incredibly shut down and lost a Super Bowl to the big underdog New York Giants. And Steve Spagnuolo was the mastermind behind the defense for the Giants that was able to shut down Tom Brady. Now, Brady only had 266 yards passing. I think he had that in the first quarter of the Super Bowl when he played the Eagles. He only had 1 touchdown pass. He absorbed 5 sacks and lost a fumble. The longest pass of the game for Brady in that Super Bowl was 19 yards. To put that into perspective, I went back and looked at every single game that the Bucs played this year, and Brady's longest pass of each game was over 19 yards in all but one of those games. The only game that it did not go over was against the Rams. I think he threw for 18 yards that game, and they had the number 1 pass defense in football. So is Spagnuolo, is he going to be able to disrupt Brady in the passing game? Can he do it again?
He's going to try. Yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, he might be able to, but yeah, it's just a different team. I don't know, man. It's tough. Like you said, I have a winner in my head, but it's not like I'm risking the house on it, but it's gonna be a good game. Like you said, man, our boy Big Red there, Andy Reid. I read an article saying today that I think it was former Eagle or something like that. They were saying that Andy Reid has probably been sleeping in his office for the last
That's what he does.
Yeah, he sleeps in his office for like 2 or 3 days. Probably sleeps for like a total of like 11 minutes in those 3 days, and he comes up with all these crazy plays and everything else. Like, so man, I definitely was going for the Chiefs last year. I wanted to see Andy Reid get the win, but
Sure.
man, this is going to be a good game. I just don't know. I don't know. It's hard to skew it either way, man. You can argue each side both ways. Another thing I wanted to get your thought on. We were talking about Bucks defense, and I mean, I know the one thing that I can't just get out of my mind is some of these offensive linemen that are hurt for the Chiefs. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's going to play a factor, but Eric Fisher being out with the Achilles, and then Mitchell Schwartz being out. They're already, I guess, their starting guard from the Super Bowl last year opted out of COVID. I think he's Canadian, and he's doing his thing up there and helping people with COVID at a hospital. But so that's 3 out of your 5 starting offensive linemen, I guess, from last year's Super Bowl team that are going to be out. And like you said, I mean, Tampa Bay can rush the passer, and man, all it's going to take is if they can get to Mahomes early, and maybe kind of, I don't know, get him thinking about making some quicker throws, and he can force him into a mistake or two. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
I think that's going to be the factor right there with the weakened offensive line for Kansas City and the pressure that Tampa Bay can get on the ball. 4th in sacks in the league.
Yeah,
look, we've all been out there. Now, look, let me I don't know, simplify it here. We've all been out there playing flag football, and when you're playing flag football and you're the quarterback and you don't have a rush, you're going to pick apart the defense. It's easy to score 1 million points in your flag football game. But as soon as they get even one guy rushing at you and you got to rush it, it makes everything 100 times more difficult. And if they can, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I know he's not going to be the MVP this year. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers. But Patty Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, and he makes the most incredible plays and throws and moves around the pocket great. But look, he's still a quarterback, and when a quarterbacks face pressure, it makes life difficult.
Yeah, it definitely does. And man, I hate to, man, it's just so hard. I mean, yeah, I love Mahomes. He's obviously the face of the league for the next however long he plays. You know what I'm saying? He's the $500 million man. And man, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, that's the key, I think, to the Bucks' victory is to get pressure. Obviously, I think every team in the NFL obviously wants to get a ton of pressure on the quarterback every week, but can they get it done? And I think the Bucks have the team and the guys that can get it done. And man, like you said, the weekend, just with that offensive line being out, man, I think that just plays into the Bucks' favor. But man, can Brady pull it off? And I don't know, man. Does it mean? I mean, obviously Brady's just in his 10th Super Bowl and could win his 7th, I guess, on Sunday, obviously. And I don't know, man. He's just the guy that you want to have, I guess, for the Bucks. You know what I'm saying? Like he's that guy that you want to have just leading your team, you know what I'm saying? And I know Mahomes was there last year. Andy Reid's been in, I guess this will be his 3rd Super Bowl. So, they have some experience, but man, it's just tough. And like I saw on ESPN today, I mean, obviously the Bucks are at home and those guys are just going throughout their normal routine. And they said Kansas City is in Kansas City practicing right now, and they won't fly to Tampa Bay until Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, I guess. Wow. So that's kind of like a regular, I guess that's how they do it during their regular season. But I mean, usually in the Super Bowl, those guys are there all week, you know what I'm saying? Hanging out and doing the whole
media day and all that stuff. But COVID changes everything. So.
COVID changes things. So, I mean, obviously I don't think that plays a huge factor, but it might. I mean, with the nerves and, just getting there the day before, maybe just getting acclimated, maybe that maybe the Chiefs aren't going to be so explosive in the beginning. And, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, it could just play into the Bucks' favor. It could be another key, I don't know, maybe to like a low scoring first quarter maybe, and we'll see.
What's weird for me is every Super Bowl I've ever watched, I've had someone to root for. Like I knew who I was rooting for, and I don't know who I'm rooting for. I don't know who to pick. I mean, I have my pick now that's subject to change, but I don't even know who to root for because I've hated Tom Brady my whole life. As soon as he came in the NFL, I never liked him, always rooted against him. But that's tough to do now. He switched. I mean, he switched leagues. He's over in the NFC now, and he's back at it again. And he's such a cool cat, man. And it's tough to root against him now and beating Father Time and everything. But with that being said, I love Andy Reid, and I really would like to see him win another one. I love Patrick Mahomes too. I wouldn't mind him getting another one. He's got plenty of time to do that. So
It's tough, man. I don't know. I'm with you. I'm on the fence. It's Tuesday, so I mean, my pick could change 3 times by then. But
yeah, well, right now I got Tampa. I'm putting it out there right now. If I had to bet money on it, I'm betting Tampa. I don't feel great about it at all. I'll never feel great about who I'm betting on during the Super Bowl. But as of right now, again, something could change. We'll see. I'm going Tampa.
That's what I got here. Right in my notes, I have to just with Brady. I mean, my note says I feel absolutely gross picking against Mahomes, but the Buccaneers have just been hot, and I think the defense will just make a few better, some good plays, and they're going to pressure Mahomes. And I don't know, man. I just think it means a lot to Brady too. Like, obviously, it's his 10th Super Bowl, but I mean, it means a lot to both guys. But I mean, Tom Brady, he just strives for that excellence. I mean, and he just wants to. Man, I don't know. I think, like in that Green Bay game, you just can't give the ball to one of the best quarterback to ever play and wish you're going to get it back. And I think Tom will just make enough plays. I'm not going to say, he's going to throw for 500 yards like he did against the Eagles, but right. I think he'll make enough plays. And I got Buccaneers winning 32-28 as my Tuesday night Super Bowl pick as of right now. And I feel pretty crummy picking against my boy Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but that's what I have it right now, man. If I had to pick one guy, Tom Brady's the X factor, and can't go against him. I don't know. It's hard to pick against my man Brady, I guess, at this point in his career.
All right. Tough to do. There you have it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers all around.
Yep. Well, we're going to get a poll going. I know we had a little early. One of our members had posted on there about some of the, is this the best Super Bowl matchup ever? I mean, I think it could be in time, but I know everybody had their kind of picks, and we'll get a poll going to see what side everybody's on. I think we'll get it probably split down the middle, I think. So we'll see what happens. But, man, it's going to be a good game. And like you said, my pick probably will change 3 or 4 times before Sunday, but I'm going to stick with the Bucs. If I had to bet on it, I do like the betting line more. I mean, 3.5, I'll take that. I mean, I think it could be a field goal game. So if you're going to give me 3.5, I mean, I would take the Bucs, which doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl, but means you could maybe win some money. But that's here or there. But all right, I think we got our guest Anthony ready to roll, so we'll get him on.
All right, folks. As promised, we have with us returning an analyst and host for Rotoballer Radio on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Also a host of Rotoballer Radio on YouTube. I listened to his beautiful voice this morning on my way to work on the radio. The guy who loves to make bets with other people's money, Anthony Aniano.
Aren't those the best bets to make, gentlemen? Right? Yeah. I'll throw anything down. I'll bet you, whatever you want to bet, what color the sky is, if it's not coming out of my wallet. Absolutely. Right. How you guys been though? Good?
Yeah, man. Been great. Can't complain.
Right, we noticed that wonderful manly beard you got there. Grizzly Adams look going.
Yeah, sometime before Thanksgiving, I just kind of surrendered, and this is the look of surrender. It has to come off eventually. My wife and daughter just at this point won't even look in my direction. I've been compared so far to Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Ooh. I've been compared to Saddam Hussein when they pulled him out of the hole. So yeah, not exactly the look, not exactly the comparison anybody wants to be made. But at this point, it's just whatever it is, right?
I like it.
Thank you, Brian.
I like it.
It's one of us. So anyway, we're going to come on here and talk about free agent wide receivers. However, I do want to get your take. Big trade over the weekend. Stafford going to the Rams for a king's ransom. One of the first questions after that really sank in was people thought, man, what is Desean Watson going to go for now? So what do you think about that? What's his price tag going to be, and where do you see Desean heading?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest winner in that trade is the Texans.
100%.
Right? 2 firsts, and you may not love Jared Goff, but 2 firsts and a starting quarterback for the season, right? We can argue back and forth how viable Jared Goff is, but I don't think anybody's going to argue the fact that Jared Goff is going to be the Detroit Lions starting quarterback in 2021. So to get 2 picks plus that, it's a win, and it's a win for the Rams. Goff, I think, had done his time with the Rams. It wasn't going any further. Stafford makes them a better offense, and Goff gets a chance he gets one season to prove that he's still an NFL starting caliber quarterback. Going to be interesting what that Rams offense looks like, though, after free agency, new head coach, and everything else. As far as Desean Watson goes, 3 teams, I think, Jets, Dolphins, Carolina, all of them offering a top 10 pick. All of them offering, if Houston wants it, an immediate replacement at quarterback, whether it's Darnold, Tua, Teddy Bridgewater. Now, you go to Carolina. If they take Carolina, if they take that first-round pick, and I'm going to say it's the first-round pick this year and at least 2 more picks, whether it's the Jets later in the draft or another pick next year, however it works out with these teams. You know, the Jets have a multitude of picks. I'm looking at 3 first-round picks and potentially a player. You go with Carolina, you're saying we're going to draft a quarterback and we're going to use Teddy Bridgewater as our stopgap. You go Miami, that means you believe in Tua. And you're not drafting a quarterback. You're now building around Tua if you're Houston. And if you're to go to the Jets and you take Sam Darnold, that's the interesting one. Because Sam Darnold, to me, has had a long enough leash to prove that whether he's a starter or not. But Houston would then say, if you want Sam Darnold, you're saying, Sam Darnold, we think we can fix you. We think we can make you a better player, and we're going to build around you. And there's so many ways then you could go in the draft at 2 or 3 or 8 if you decide not to draft a quarterback there. If a quarterback doesn't go in that trade, then you know Houston's starting over and they're taking one of the rookies with that first-round pick. My money says the Jets. They have more to lose public relation-wise. If he doesn't go to the Jets, it's a disaster here in the New York area. You're potentially getting a top 5 quarterback for Sam Darnold and some draft picks. Like, at some point, if you're a Jet fan, you've been rebuilding since Joe Namath. Okay? It's been 50 years. The rebuilding process is over. Let's bring in some talent. So go get Desean Watson.
I know he said he wants to go to the Jets, right? So, I mean, obviously, if he's going to come out and say it, I don't know how you can't make the deal. I don't know, but
yeah, he's come out supposedly and said they're number 1 on his list.
Yeah,
he hasn't ruled out any other team. Now, the interesting caveat of all of this, though, guys, is Houston's coming out and saying we're not trading him.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe that. I really don't. You're not going to say we're trading him because then that just drives down his value, right? You want to say, oh, we're keeping him. There's no way. That relationship is permanently ruined. I don't see how they fix it. They ruined it. Bill O'Brien ruined it when he traded DeAndre Hopkins for a bucket of used footballs last year. I mean, that's all that amounted to be. So now you got to rebuild it from the ground up. You start with the quarterback. And again, I mean, let me ask you guys, do you want one of those rookies or do you want Tua? That's what it comes down to, in my opinion. If you want Tua, he goes to Miami. If you want to draft Fields or one of the other rookies, then he goes to either the Jets or Carolina.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a Tua guy. And I just keep going back to the Jets, too, in my head because they have so much ammunition with those 2 first-round picks. And Watson already came out and said he loves the new head coach that the Jets have. I think Watson could have – I talked about this, last week, 2 weeks ago, where, maybe he goes to the Jets and he tells him, look, go get Aaron Jones because the Jets have money. They can bring in some big-name free agents. Go get Allen Robinson or Chris Godwin or something.
That's the guy. That's going to be the package deal.
Boom. Now the Jets went from absolutely nobody to somebody. And with Sam Darnold, I don't think he's that bad. I'm not convinced that you couldn't have done better with Sam Darnold than Adam Gase did. So maybe he does have something left.
Well, I agree with you. I think Sam Darnold needs a change of scenery. If I was Sam Darnold's agent, I'm trying to get him to Pittsburgh. That's where I want Sam Darnold to end up. Even if he's a backup for one more year to Ben, you got Claypool, you got Johnson, and you've got an organization which has proven competency, right? I mean, at the very least, they're a competent organization, which is the complete opposite of what the New York Jets have been for years and years and years. So if he can land in a place like Pittsburgh, back up for 1 year and then take the reins, it's a nice spot for him to rebuild his career. Houston's going to be tough for him because as much as he's going to be given an opportunity to start, he's in no better a position than he is now with the Jets. It's a terrible team, going nowhere, aging, salary cap hell, the whole bit. So Darnold, I do think is savable, but it has to be in the right position as far as that goes. And, you're right. Adam Gase ruined him. I just don't think there's any other way around it. When you look at the track record of players who have left Miami under Adam Gase and went on to better careers, I mean, it all ties to Adam Gase. Ryan Tannehill is now a top 10 quarterback, and he was in the fantasy industry. Nobody wanted any part of him when he was the quarterback of the Dolphins. So it screams a lot that what Adam Gase has been unable to do with young quarterbacks in his career, not named Aaron Rodgers.
Got that right. All right, so change gears here, going to the wide receiver position. I ranked a few of these guys in terms of who I think are the best names out there. Number one for me is Allen Robinson. He was 9th in the league in receiving yards this year, 1,250. He had 1,100 the year before. He had 102 catches this year. Pro Football Focus ranked him as the 5th best wideout in all of the league, and he did all of that with Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky. I think if you're a team out there who needs a receiver and you got some money, this is the guy you go to.
Well, that's the guy, right? And that's the guy who's been tied with Desean Watson, wherever Watson ends up. Oh, I could see them coming as a package deal, whether it's Miami or whether it's the Jets. And that's every New York Jets dream right now, is pairing Allen Robinson with Desean Watson. But it makes sense in Miami as well, guys. Okay. Devonte Parker, very good wide receiver. But we saw the holes there as injuries took effect on the rest of that wide receiver core. Devonte Parker, even at times, was limited. Allen Robinson puts Devonte Parker really where he should be, which is a very, very good wide receiver too. But Allen Robinson, you said it, Bobby, is the alpha male. He's the guy that defenses know is on the field and know they need to pay attention to. And for a Miami team, that's close, right? That's close. That's right there with, is a player or two away. You tell me you could take Desean Watson and Allen Robinson and go head-to-head with their defense already and go head-to-head with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs for the next couple of years in the AFC East. We got a nice little situation here, okay? It's a nice little matchup of young quarterbacks, top-flight wide receivers, excellent skill players around them, strong defenses, and good coaching. Let's roll, right? Miami, Buffalo, let's do this.
Miami also has a tight end and a running game. Buffalo doesn't have either one of those things.
I want to see two things. I want to see a full season out of Zach Moss. I do. I'm not that he's going to be 1,500 yards, but I do think in this day and age of the NFL, he's useful first and second down. Singletary catching the ball out of the backfield. Singletary cannot be your primary running back. And number two, as far as Miami goes, they have a running game. They don't have a running back, which is an interesting statement, but it doesn't matter who they roll out there. Now, do they want to go all in and bring in somebody who can be that 70%, 80% share guy? Potentially they could do that, but I don't see them doing it because of they've been able to plug and play at the running back position. Really, they were able to do it all year and get just enough. Right? I mean, that's the NFL now, right? You don't have to run the ball unless you're the Baltimore Ravens.
I like that. I like the Robinson to the Dolphins. That'd be a good fit there. I like that one.
I just think I wouldn't be shocked if the team had enough cap space. And Miami sits at about just under 26 million in cap space as of right now. They're at under 26. Now the Jets are at about 65.5 million. They're in a monster spot, the Jets. But both of them are doable if you wanted to bring them in as a package deal. Now, I'm not a huge follow these guys on social media, but supposedly Allen Robinson liked something Desean Watson tweeted. So whatever that means, it means. But, some of these teams are in a position to bring them in together. And that might be something both players want.
Turn it into the NBA then, I guess. Then we're going to start forming these super teams. Now, another guy that we got on the list, Chris Godwin, the guy that's going to play this week in the Super Bowl. I think he makes about $800,000 a year, so he's obviously due for a little bit of a raise. If they win the Super Bowl, I don't see him going anywhere. I don't know why you would want to leave that situation, especially with Brady wanting to play another couple of years. So what's your take on that? Where do you think he might end up?
I do agree with you, Brian. I think Tampa Bay will be the first spot for Chris Godwin. But there's one sleeper out there for Chris Godwin, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. And it all depends on who comes back at quarterback, who ends up being their quarterback.
Yeah.
T.Y. Hilton's a free agent. I love Michael Pittman, but year 2, we know the monster running game they have, the offensive line. They are a piece away. Chris Godwin paired with the right quarterback. And I'm not going to say anything, but I wouldn't be out of luck if somebody came out of retirement. That's just a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
I hope they take Carson Wentz off our hands, but that's not.
That's the right Frank Reich, everything. You know, here's the other thing with these free agent wide receivers, though, is this is a deep rookie class of wide receivers, right? Your Philadelphia Eagles haven't been able to produce a wide receiver since Harold Carmichael. Yet, okay, here's a spot where I don't see them.
Wasn't that bad?
Nelson Aguilar. Nonetheless.
Sean.
Okay. Nonetheless, they've got Philadelphia, no matter who they decide to play at quarterback, they have to draft a wide receiver.
Yeah.
If the kid from Ohio State is there or the kid from LSU is there, you got to do it, right? You got to put a weapon on the field. But Indianapolis, for Godwin, if Tampa drags their feet, if they decide to go, you know, Mike Evans is there one, and I just think Brady has all the call in this. But nonetheless, Chris Godwin taking over the reins in Indianapolis would be a fun spot for him to land.
Now, Godwin, for me, he only had 800 yards receiving this year, but he's only 1 year removed from having 1,300 receiving yards. The biggest issue for me this year was that his yards after the catch dropped tremendously this year. Even like per reception, dropped almost 2.5 yards per reception after the catch. Not sure why. I don't know if it's the types of routes he was running. Now, however, there was Tom Brady had a 131 quarterback rating when throwing towards Godwin, which obviously is great. And the Colts were my number one spot. I'd like to see him go. But I also thought, you know, what about Baltimore? They're always hurting for a wide receiver. They got a deep threat in Marquise Brown, and Lamar Jackson's not that accurate of a passer, but Godwin got 1,300 yards with Jameis Winston, you know, and he's nobody's Steve Young. So I think Baltimore would be a decent spot for him to go if they could make it work.
Baltimore would be interesting. I just think Baltimore goes. We know what Baltimore wants to do. They want to run, right? That's who they are. That's their identity, and that's not going to change. But they're another team that desperately needs a wide receiver. But you know, we talk about this list, right? Allen Robinson. We've talked about Chris Godwin. Juju Smith-Schuster's out there, and there's no way he goes back to Pittsburgh. Financially, it doesn't make sense. Not with the cap, that the amount of cap space that Roethlisberger takes up. Cheaper options like Claypool, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, and everything else. So Juju Smith-Schuster's going to be on another team. Corey Davis of Tennessee is a free agent. He's going to end up on another team. Somebody, I agree with you, Bob, somebody's going to end up in Baltimore. They need to find somebody to go. He doesn't have to be the alpha male that a Godwin or an Allen Robinson is, but there's going to be somebody there in Baltimore who's going to make Marquise Brown better, make Lamar Jackson better, a Corey Davis, a Juju Smith-Schuster, even a Marvin Jones, right? Marvin Jones is so grossly underrated, I think, in the NFL circuit. You talk about just a guy who seems to, right? In every NFL draft, in every draft you do, all of a sudden it's not round 10 and you're like, fine, I'll take Marvin Jones. And next thing you know, you're thrilled you did that. Okay. Kenny Galladay's going to come at a nice price. What did he pay? 5 games last season. He was injured and beat up. So there's players there that could easily end up in Baltimore.
So go ahead. Sorry.
Do you think Juju's going to try to command number one receiver money because he's not a number one receiver? I mean, this year he only averaged 8.6 yards a catch on his 97 catches. I mean,
Juju hasn't been the same since Antonio Brown left it down in Pittsburgh.
Right? And that makes the point. So do you think he's going to try to get that money? Because
I think he'll try.
It's going to take him a while to sign then because no one's paying that.
We all want that type of money, right? We just don't. Eventually, we realize we're not going to get it. But it's an oversaturated market at the wide receiver position. Okay, I mean, I have a list in front of me of 12 wide receivers who are pretty good and who can land somewhere and make a team better. There are 15 wide receivers by my count who have the ability to go by on the first 2 days of the draft, rounds 1, 2, and 3. So you're looking at almost 30 wide receivers there who have the potential to have an impact next July and August when camp rolls around. That's a lot of player with not as much need. So unless you're Allen Robinson, you're going to have a hard time. And let's not discount the fact that Juju was a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. Right? And yeah. Teams have seen that and they want to avoid it. Right? That's Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham. There are a lot of organizations that are like, we're close. I don't need that headache where you're putting a mark on us, where teams are going after us. So I agree with you. I don't think Juju gets it. He doesn't come close to the money a Godwin or an Allen Robinson get.
And you want to talk about head cases. We turn back the clock a little farther, and you have Terrell Owens, who is physically one of the best wide receivers in the history of football, and he played for like 6 teams because nobody wanted to keep a Hall of Fame talent around. He was that big of an idiot.
I mean, is the level of diva at the wide receiver position? It's amazing. But Terrell, Dez at times, Randy Moss, Odell. It goes on and on and on. Whatever reason, it's in their DNA, I guess, at the wide receiver position. They're needy. Maybe they just need a hug before the game. I don't know, but it's not the right season to be that person, right? Curtis Samuel, you're going to get cheap. And Curtis Samuel, you can argue, was the best player on the Carolina Panthers this past year.
He's dangerous.
Will Fuller is dealing with the suspension, but he was finally having the season we expected him to have. Okay. Does Will Fuller follow Desean Watson on a dirt cheap contract coming off of a suspension? It's just so deep at that position and so many players out there. Green Bay needs a wide receiver. What are they going to pay if they decide to make Aaron Rodgers happy? Right. Alan Lazard is, I think, a restricted free agent. They need to show some good faith to Rodgers with all of their off-field drama. Marvin Jones is a nice fit opposite Devonte Adams there, in my opinion. It's just too deep. You're looking at potentially 30 players between the draft and free agency. It's a lot of players at one position.
Now, Will Fuller, him and Kenny Golladay both fight injuries. And like you said, in 11 games that Fuller played this year, 5 of them he had over 100 yards receiving. He had 8 touchdowns. Now, for me as a GM, a roller coaster with a player like that who is, one of the most explosive players in the league when he's healthy, but how often does that happen? For me, I can't really make that gamble with a bunch of money if I'm running a football team. That being said, and you brought up the Packers, for me, how perfect would Will Fuller be on Green Bay with Devonte Adams there? That would just be a perfect fit in my mind.
They don't need an alpha. They don't need the one, obviously. They already got the best wide receiver in the game. They have money to spend if they want to bring back Aaron Jones, which I don't think they will. I think that's why A.J. Dillon is there. But again, right now, they are in damage control to keep Aaron Rodgers happy. So if Aaron Rodgers wants Aaron Jones, as bad as it might be financially, will be back with Green Bay. But you're right. Will Fuller to spread the field there in Green Bay is a perfect spot. He can't go somewhere and be your big acquisition. He can't go somewhere and be your main guy. You can't sell Will Fuller as your off-season victory to your fan base because you're getting 10 games out of him. Those hamstrings are going to pop. They always do, okay? But you put him in Washington opposite McLaurin. Mm-hmm. You put him in Green Bay opposite Devonte Adams. You put him in Miami opposite Devonte Parker. And he does, without any doubt, make that offense more dynamic and makes a secondary respect that deep ball a heck of a lot more than they did before he was on that team.
That's a good call. That's tough. I don't know, man. How much of that he got in trouble for performance enhancing drugs.
NFL doesn't care about the PEDs.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. This isn't baseball. Baseball gets on their soapbox over PEDs. Yeah. NFL, they suspend you for 4 or 5 games and then you're back. It's a totally different mindset when it comes to PEDs, depending on the sport.
Yeah, you're right on that for sure.
I got one for you. You talked about Curtis Samuel. I think he has to go somewhere with a coach that's going to scheme him in and get the right plays for him. Can you imagine with Sammy Watkins out the door probably? Can you imagine him going to Kansas City?
Oh, he'd be fun.
Oh,
he'd be fun, but I just don't. That's Mecole Hardman right now, is Curtis Samuel. Where I would love to see him go is Arizona. Let Arizona and Kyler Murray have some fun with Curtis Samuel.
Okay.
You have Hopkins. Fitzgerald's retiring. Christian Kirk's a nice player. Okay. But let's get dynamic. Let's get that I'm going to age myself here, that razzle dazzle that Curtis Samuel can bring. Okay. Yeah. It's another piece in arguably the most competitive division in football, right? The NFC West with Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, Kyler Murray, and however the 49ers decide to be. 49ers are going to be a better team than they were last year. I mean, they were just decimated by injuries from opening day. So every team in that division is going to be looking for dynamic playmakers. Arizona stalled down the stretch offensively a bit. Curtis Samuel's a fun player. 851 receiving yards. He had, I don't even know how many rushing yards, but he was involved in a lot with Carolina. There's a good chance he goes back to Carolina, but I would love to see him in Arizona.
He had right around 400 and some rushing yards, I believe.
I mean, that's
damn, that's a lot. Yeah,
that's a dynamic, right? It's a multi-use player who could do a lot of things for you. And you know, Kansas City would be fun. I just don't see how it fits with the pieces they have in place there. I love the idea of him in Arizona. Baltimore could be fun too.
I just read today before we came on that the 49ers are trying to get Kirk Cousins, I think. They said they offered a couple picks, I think, for Kirk Cousins and Garoppolo. Garoppolo, a second and a fourth round pick for Kirk Cousins is what I read earlier, like an hour ago.
A terrible trade if you're Minnesota.
I think Minnesota says they want to
win.
No, probably not. No, they're not.
I mean, Garoppolo's been to more Super Bowls than Kirk Cousins has, right?
Yeah.
So, and you're going to get a couple of picks. And really, the quarterback, if I'm Garoppolo, I'm thrilled to go to Minnesota. I'm going to hand the ball to Dalvin Cook 20 times a game and then throw to Thielen and Jefferson the rest of the day. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
That'd be good.
Curtis Samuel, just a heads up, he had 200 rushing yards this year. He's got 478 for his career. I got my numbers.
Okay. But it still was over 1,000 total yards on the offensive side. And, I mean, with McCaffrey out, he was their most consistent offensive player. With Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? I got one more for you, and this is diving deep here. Rashad Perriman. So was he I know. So my question is, was he actually good 2 years ago in Tampa at the end of the season, or was his success simply that he was literally the only wide receiver left and Jameis Winston was not afraid of chucking the ball? Because
that's it.
Rashad Perriman had 506 yards on 37 targets with 4 touchdowns from weeks 13 to 17. 500 yards and 4 scores in 5 weeks.
2 wide receivers were out at that time. Jameis Winston just said, we're going down in a blaze, boys. Right? Didn't he at that point?
Yeah, they put
he was playing schoolyard football. Everything's out of the shotgun. Forget about running a play. Everybody go deep, and if we hit, we hit. And that's what Rashad Perriman took advantage of. Now, is he as bad as he was with the Jets this year? No, I don't think he was. Again, that goes back to Jets coaching and the ineptitude of the Jets offense. Rashad Perriman in the right spot is a very nice third wide receiver type of player. You know, put him back in Tampa instead of Antonio Brown, he would have value there. He's
exactly my thought.
He's a 600, 700 yard type of wide receiver. Put him in Minnesota as a third receiver opposite Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Put him in Green Bay over Alan Lazard. All nice little spots for him, okay? But don't make the mistake the Jets made and think, okay, we're going to sign him over 5 games and he's going to change everything. That's it. You know where I'd love to see him go? Here's a spot for Rashad Perriman, okay? This team has, let me make sure I got the number right, just under $70 million in cap space. They have 1 wide receiver who 2 years ago was a beast, and then he struggled at times this year. Okay? And the weather is awfully warm in Jacksonville. Keelan Cole's a free agent. Dede Westbrook could be a free agent. DJ Chark's the alpha. Trevor Lawrence is coming. Okay? Rashad Perriman as the deep threat, big play, 20-yard per catch guy for Trevor Lawrence. Okay, and we haven't even mentioned Jacksonville, but they got a ton of money to spend, boys. And they're going to be in. They're going to be adding pieces around Lawrence. Okay, Rashad Perryman as a low-cost wide receiver. Again, 1,000 yards? No. 600-700 yards, 5-6 touchdown ability? Sure, sign me up.
And he went to UCF, so going back home there to Florida. He's a UCF.
Who doesn't want to go to Florida?
Yeah, he's
okay,
a UCF
I look out the
guy.
window, there's
Yeah.
18 feet of snow out my window right now. Who doesn't want to go to Florida?
Yeah,
Okay,
sign me
Florida,
up.
I don't have to grow this nonsense.
Yeah, there you go.
You got
Man,
anybody else, Brian? You good?
I got one more. I got a two-part question for you here. I mean, yeah, you touched on Pittsburgh and Juju a little bit. I mean, like you said, with Big Ben's deal, I think he's due for what? He's going to be 42 million against the cap next year. I mean, do you think? I mean, how do you keep Big Ben at this point with that cap hit? I mean, that's just, to me, it's unreal. I mean, in that game that he played at the end of the year was pretty bad. So I mean, I think they got to move on from him.
Pittsburgh is slated to be minus $28 million in cap space. I mean, it's a salary cap hell. Now, if Ben is willing to restructure, then I think Ben comes back. Yeah. Because for a part of the season, Pittsburgh was good. Okay, James Conner will be gone. They're going to be handing off the running backs to some of the younger players there. Juju will be gone. Okay, you got to get younger in other spots. But here's what you're doing when you let Ben Roethlisberger go. And if you do, you're telling your fan base, we're not winning. It's not happening. Now, you may not have liked the way our season ended, but we were there in the playoffs. We won 12 games. We were undefeated for a while. We're giving the division to Baltimore. We're going to let Cleveland pass us. And Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, everybody thinks is going to make a move eventually as well, as long as Burrow's knee is healthy. You move on from Ben, and eventually they have to. But that's a brutal division to rebuild in. Okay? And you don't have a high draft pick. Okay? It's a late pick. You're just going to cut them. So you're not going to get a draft pick for him. So you're drafting late. You're not getting one of the elite guys. You want to dabble in a free agent quarterback and try to reload. It's doable, but now you got to pay again. And you're paying for an unknown. You want to bring in Jameis Winston? I don't want to do that if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you do what you got to do to try to figure out a way. And you try to get some low-cost ways. And you hope like heck that Ben is willing to restructure. I think Ben stays there, though. Pittsburgh's too proud a franchise to be sitting in fourth place for the next 3 years behind 3 teams with young quarterbacks.
Yeah, you're right. He'll probably will stay. I mean, he is the Steelers, so they'll find a way to keep him, I'm sure.
He's got a sweet beard too.
He does. He knows how to grow one for sure.
Not as sweet as yours, Ted.
Why, thank you. Ted, I like it. I like it.
All right, folks, before we head out here, make sure you check out www.thediaperdust.com, our sponsor. Anyone and everyone who has a kid in diapers, you definitely need this product. Anthony, thank you so much for coming on, hanging out with us, talking some free agent wide receivers, and letting us pick your brain a little bit. How can we hear you? How can we get your stuff?
Yeah, so if you head over on YouTube and check out and subscribe to Rotoballer Radio, you'll see mine and a whole bunch of great content there. SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. I'm on every Tuesday and Thursday morning, Rotoballer Radio, 6 to 7 a.m. And hit me up on Twitter at Aniano Fantasy, and we'll talk some sports there as well, guys.
Nice.
I tell people all the time, got to get you Tuesday, Thursday mornings. I listen every week, so I
appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming back on for sure.
Yeah, man. Anytime you guys need me, this is one of my favorite shows to pop on. It really is. I don't do many anymore, but you guys, I always have a good time with you guys. So legitimately, anytime you need me, you let me know.
Gotcha.
Much appreciated. Love hearing it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Be well.
All right. Take it easy.